this up and spread this around. Share it everywhere that you can. And the first speaker we have tonight is the one who just prayed for us here. He's got a message for you, and he's a board member of Stand Up Michigan, Pastor Jason Georges.
Let's hear it for Ron Armstrong. My name is Pastor Jason Georges, and I pastor the Emmanuel Baptist Church, a church that never shut its doors and continued to meet through all the unconstitutional shutdowns. We also have a school, and we had a normal school year last year because we had unmasked students that were not social distance, that played sports. Worse, we have a school that we do not dictate to our parents what they must inject into their children. And I want to share with you this morning that what we are facing right now is a moral issue. Vaccine mandates are immoral. Douglas MacArthur said, "The world is in a constant conspiracy against the brave." It's the age-old struggle, the roar of the crowd on one side and the voice of your conscience on the other. And this is why you have gathered here today, because it seems like the roar of the crowd is growing larger and the liberty to speak and live according to the dictates of your conscience is under threat. Hence, the response of the brave that MacArthur spoke of is not to cower nor limit speaking in our conscience in the privacy of our homes or in our church houses, but to exercise ourselves in the public square by saying what many Americans and Michiganders believe but are too afraid to say. Friends, you are not afraid. You are here because you are against the government and academic institutions and corporations forcing you to inject something into your body against your will. Government medical mandates are immoral. They are immoral because by mandating vaccinations, government is robbing from you what God has given to you. The founders of this great country realized that our rights come from God, not government. During the revolution, they appealed to the God of nature, nature's law. They recognized that from the moment of your creation, you have been endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, in particular, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These rights are gifts from God, not privileges from government. And I, for one, am tired of the government taking away my God-given rights and in attempting to bribe me by handing them back as a privilege. Our rights come from God. The founders knew this because they knew the Bible. Jesus taught this principle. He said, "Render unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's." Jesus declared that there are some things that belong solely to God. The founders recognized these as sacred principles. And one of these sacred properties. And one of these sacred properties is your right to life. For years, the left has chanted, "My body, my choice." And while they did not extend that right to the defenseless child in the womb, it seems like they don't apply it. It seems like that right does not seem to apply here today. By mandating a vaccine, the government assumes it has greater responsibility for your body than you do. They know better. Just shut up and take it. And this is the problem. Government is not God. Hence, the founders also recognized the sacred right of the liberty of conscience. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, said that conscience is the most sacred of all properties. Your conscience belongs to God. The conscience is the inner sense of what is morally right and wrong that resides in the soul of an individual. And everything about medical mandates is immoral because it infringes the sacred right of conscience of individuals. When it's no longer a choice and you have to, whether by mandate or, as our president said, he's going to make it so uncomfortable that you have no choice but to take the vaccine. Friends, let me tell you what that is. That is tyranny. Your conscience belongs to God. And it is the sacred conscience that compelled the apostles to obey God rather than men. Your conscience belongs to God, not government. So Michigan, now is the time to stand up, Michigan. Now is the time to stand up in your schools. Now is the time to stand up in your workplaces. Now is the time to stand up to the media. We will not be silent. We will not be pushed away in fear. We will not be shamed in the corner. They will hear our voices. And friends, now is the time of a reckoning. Now is the time to stand up to any politician that is in favor of mandating a vaccine. They cannot allow to get away from this. And in closing, the church has been silent. Now it's time for churches to speak with the voice that God has given us. Somewhere along the way, we believed the lie that politics has no place in the pulpit. But I'm telling you, if you're not going to hear, the only place you're going to hear the truth is you're going to hear it in the pulpit. Get in a Bible preaching church that is not afraid to preach the truth of God's word. Stand up, Michigan!
Oh man, God bless you guys. Wow, I love this. Look out here, folks. Look around you. This is what the Constitution was contemplating when it said that we have an absolute First Amendment right to petition the government for redress of grievances, and that's why we're here today. You understand that that Constitution thing matters. In the last few days, since the government seemed to get together all around, whether it's the federal government or the state government or your universities, it seemed like they all coordinated and said, okay, let's all together here, let's just jam it down their throat. Whenever you see government acting, the first question you ask them is, what's your authority to act? And remember, we the people are their authority. And the second question you ask is, even if you've got the power in the Constitution, you've got to read the rest of the Constitution and make sure there's nothing that limits that power. Something like the free exercise of religious conscience, for example. Over the last couple days, we've counseled and assisted hundreds of people seeking sincerely held religious conscience objections to these outrageous mandates. And you listen to what they're saying out there and make it look like, oh, we're a bunch of stupid idiots. Folks, these are professionals, these are medical professionals that are seeking these things. These are university students and graduate students and the best and brightest of our land. The best and brightest of our land who just happen to follow their Lord Jesus Christ. You know, there comes a time when we, the people, have to stand. And I can tell you from listening to my colleagues that have been working with these individuals and myself that have been counseling and assisting these individuals over the last couple of days, the biggest thing we need in the next week and a week and a half is that everybody out there go out and convince 25 more people, because I'm telling you, they're putting the pressure on, and there are folks that do not want to do this. It's against their conscience. They understand the medical implications and the dangers medically and the dangers scientifically of what they don't know at this point. They have legitimate questions, and they are being forced upon pain of having their benefits taken away, being fired. I tell you, if we all stand together, these hospitals, they can't stand to lose all of their staff. There was another time in our history when we had to stand together, and one of our founders said, we need to all hang together, we'll surely all hang separately. And that's kind of what they're trying to do. They're trying to, peel us off. They're trying to, at some point we had to realize in this country that this freedom that we've all taken for granted for our lifetime, that there is a cost of it. And Reagan was right. It doesn't come in the bloodstream. Each one of us has to stand when the time comes to stand. Now is our time to stand. It is now or never. It is now or never. And look around you. When was the last time they had this many people in front of this public place?
Right to work demonstrations.
Long time ago. And I tell you, the last time we had this many people, we moved mountains. We can do it this time too. We can do it this time too. Look around you and look at we've got righteous anger, we're being peaceful. We are sending a message in the way that it's intended to be sent. And I'm telling you, if they don't listen, we've got something called the ballot box, and we've got something called lawsuits when they step on the Constitution. And I tell you, the Great Lakes Justice Center will be right there, and we'll be filing the very first ones. All right, we hold these truths to be self-evident. They're all created equal, endowed by their Creator, with a capital C, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That word inalienable means they can't take it away from you, folks. That right is a natural right that is yours. It is here from the beginning of time, and it'll be here until Jesus returns. If you believe that government gives you your rights, then you might as well go home, because if you believe they can give you your rights, they can take it away. And if you don't believe that, just look out there how many times they've been saying, like he said, my body, my choice. It's all about personal body privacy. Well, until we want to do something that you don't want to do.
My body's my business.
So if it bothers you that aborted fetal tissue was used in connected to all of these vaccines, if it bothers you that they're forcing you to put something into your body that they don't have done no peer-reviewed research on at this point, that they know nothing about the long-term effects, that they haven't, even the people that they have tested don't include most of the different parts of the population. If any of those things bother you, and you've got a religious conscience, objection that says, hey, God says I'm not supposed to defile my body with stuff like this. Then don't consent to what is in criminal law considered an assault and battery. What's the cost? Someone just asked you, and it was a very good question and a fair question. What if they threaten to fire me? They might. They might. I can tell you that the way a number of people that we're representing right now, assisting with a process that is allowing for a religious conscience objection or some other objections. Some of these people said, this is my country, this is about my grandchildren, if they fire me, so be it, we're standing. want to wrap up here because there's a lot of important speakers here. I want you to listen to all of them. But know that this stuff is tiny. We serve a great big God, folks. He's in control. You know, those that have come before us have been, this is hard stuff, but those that have come before us on whose shoulders we stand have been through much harder stuff than we have. So we have to honor what they did before us, and we have to stand tall now. Go out there, make sure you find 10, 20, 25 people to understand. You convince them of the righteousness of our cause, and you get them to stand tall too. God bless you. God bless the United States of America, and God bless this state.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Now, as a doctor, I could talk to you all day about the real science. But we have a real scientist to hear today, Christina Parks. God bless her. Now, I could talk to you today as a doctor about the harms that I see every week from this vaccine in my patients. But we have a doctor, God bless him, Jim, who's going to do exactly that, and it is very personal to him. So I don't want to steal his thunder. My friends, I would rather talk to you today about the real reason we are here. The one real reason, and that is fear. Fear. Over these last 18 months, we have witnessed a dark shroud of fear descend upon us and our loved ones. But as you all know, FDR told us 88 years ago, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. I am telling you, this fear-mongering must stop now. Patriots, we are about to see history repeat itself. We are witnessing the dawning of a new age of medical fascism. But this is not a new concept. Has anyone here ever heard of the great patriot, Dr. Benjamin Rush, an original signer of the Declaration of Independence? A leading physician of the emerging medical profession of his time. He was the Surgeon General of the Continental Army. 250 years ago, Dr. Rush predicted the rise of a medical dictatorship. Now we can allow this tsunami to wash us into oblivion, never to be remembered, or we can remain strong. We can work together. We can support each other, and we can stand up to this new form of health fascism. Now, when fascism reared its ugly head some 80 years ago, Americans were called upon to defeat this monster. I warn you now, there is no other America coming to save us. There are no aliens coming to save us. No one is coming to save us. We must save ourselves. We must reject this follow the science mob, fear-based mentality. It's a mass neurosis. It's some kind of disordered thinking. It's taken a hold of this follow the science group. We understand people are driven to irrational behavior through groupthink mob mentality. We understand individuals only return to rational thinking one by one, as proposed by the Great Barrington Declaration of 2020. we actually can do two things at one time. We can protect those who are vulnerable while allowing those others to continue living productive lives. I can tell you, all of these fear-driven, unscientific mandates we have been subjected to these past 18 months are not laws which free people live and flourish. We have readily effective, available outpatient treatment. We've seen proper access to health care impeded for millions of Americans.
Fauci and Gitmo!
Let's pause for one moment to remember all those souls who were deprived of family visitation and condemned to die alone, especially our beloved elderly.
How about Whitmer?
Lock up Whitmer!
Yes!
Lock her up!
Whitmer, lock up!
These follow the science policies now ignore the alarming number of harms recorded in the VAERS database, which we know to be underreported. As a doctor of medicine, I can tell you that this coerced COVID gene treatment violates the Hippocratic Oath. It violates the Patient Bill of Rights. It violates the Nuremberg Code. It violates the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This worldwide so-called vaccine mandate is a clear example of the medical tyranny that the patriot Dr. Benjamin Rush predicted 250 years ago. Just as before the civil rights movement, I see two Americas emerging. One that lives in perpetual fear, wondering what the next mandated medical treatment might be and what it might do to them. But the other America will reject these follow the science fearmongers and will choose life, liberty, and love for one another. We need to reject this fear now. If we do not live life, we will lose it. If we do not use our power, we will lose it.
Quit being afraid!
This is our David versus Goliath moment. I now call upon you all to stand up against the follow the science fear-mongers. We now call upon our elected officials to stand up with us and stop this tool of intimidation.
They need a backbone!
Stand up against medical apartheid and health fascism. Stand up, Michigan! And fight for medical freedom! Thank you. Okay, I'd like to introduce Maria Current. She's a clinical psychologist with many years. She's a master's level, many years of community counseling. She has faculty position at Arbor Springs University. And she's going to talk about this now.
I've been asked to come in here to talk today because I'm a mental health professional, and this has not only impacted us physically, it has impacted us mentally too. When we heard all those months ago ago that there was a horrible virus spreading through our nation, we were afraid as we watched our loved ones die. We were afraid and our anxiety increased, and this took a toll on our mental health. In fact, it took such a toll that we watched drug addiction increase. We watched the calls to the mental health hotline. They went up 65% and they've never gone back down again. Suicides increased. And the really sad part about that statistic is our young people, our teenagers, our young adults that died in the last 18 months didn't die from illness. 90% of them died from suicide, from being locked away and isolated the way they've done. So our anxiety increased across our nation. We were told, don't wear masks, wear a mask. Don't shop at that store, shop at this store. For goodness sake, don't hug grandma, you'll kill her. And everything was confusing. And that took a toll on our mental health. So days turned into weeks, and then this 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We know that didn't work. And we adapted because we had to. And now we finally opened up the state and people are taking off their masks. And by the way, it's great to see smiling faces again. So what can we do? First of all, by the way, take care of yourself. I sound like a mental health person, don't I? Take care of yourself, because there's never been a national worldwide pandemic in the last 100 years. There's no playbook for this. So be kind to yourself. Take care of your children and your young adult children. The world has been turned upside down on them. They don't know how to handle this. We need to help them navigate. Educate yourself, because knowledge is power, and we have knowledge today. We will not be put down. We will stand up together for freedom, because remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear. He's given us a spirit of love and of power and of a sound mind. So denounce that fear. Shake off any anxiety. We're not confused about this anymore. We have knowledge. Stand up, Michigan. We're here to stand up today. We're not exhausted. We're going to take the anger we feel and the knowledge we're receiving today, and it's going to empower us to move forward together as we stand up, Michigan. And if anyone wants to get in contact with me about mental health issues, take out your cell phone. My email is patriotmentalhealth@gmail.com. patriotmentalhealth@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.
Hello everybody, and thanks for attending this rally. I'm Dr. Culver. I'm here today to tell you about people I know personally who've had adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines. Now, we all know the so-called vaccines should really be referred to as experimental gene therapies, because that's what they really are. Today, I'll refer to them as vaccines just to make it a little bit easier.
It's depopulation.
In addition to discussing adverse reactions to the vaccines, I also want to talk about a medication called ivermectin. Why? Because ivermectin can be life-saving. Many people are not familiar with ivermectin because information about ivermectin has been suppressed by the mainstream media. But information is available if you go to the following website, www.flccc.net. FLCCC stands for Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance. It's a group of doctors who are experts in treating patients with COVID-19. They call themselves America's Frontline Doctors. The website will give you details of how to use ivermectin to prevent or treat COVID-19. Once again, that website is flccc.net. I would encourage you to go to that website, share it with as many people as you can. So remember, flccc.net, and I'll come back to that later. They're readily available. Television ads try to persuade us to take one of the COVID-19 vaccines, telling us the vaccines are safe and effective. Actually, they are not always safe and they are not always effective. I'm going to present 3 cases of adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines, of which I am personally familiar. I'll also tell you my personal experience in prescribing ivermectin for both treatment and prevention of COVID-19. Case number 1 is a 62-year-old friend of mine. She was overweight, but otherwise in good health. Having been told that the COVID-19 vaccines were safe, effective, and necessary, she willingly received the Moderna vaccine. 2 days later, she called her family to say she wasn't feeling well. Despite not feeling well, she was scheduled to receive the second dose 3 weeks later, and she did. Shortly after that second dose, she called her family again, saying that she was feeling even worse and that something just wasn't right. 2 days after receiving the second dose, Terry suddenly slumped over her kitchen table and died. The death certificate lists the cause of death as pending. Case number 2 is my 77-year-old cousin who was not in good health to begin with. He was diabetic and had a history of cardiac disease. In March of 2020, he was among the first to contract COVID-19. He became quite ill and was on a ventilator for about a week. Eventually, he recovered and was doing relatively well at home throughout the fall and winter months. Having been told the vaccine was safe, effective, and necessary, and because he was considered to be in a high-risk category, Bill received the Moderna vaccine as well. Within 2 weeks of receiving the vaccine, Bill died on March 14th of this year. Case number 3 involves my 32-year-old daughter-in-law and her parents. In March of this year, my daughter-in-law Stacy tested positive for COVID-19. Her symptoms were mild, and since she was pregnant, I did not prescribe ivermectin for her. However, I did prescribe ivermectin prophylactically for their 14-year-old daughter, who has a history of asthma, and also for my son, because I knew both would be in close contact with Stacy. Without changing anything from their normal routines, neither my son nor my granddaughter developed any symptoms of COVID-19. Stacy's parents, Gary and Cindy, had been in contact with Stacy shortly before she was diagnosed with COVID-19. I prescribed ivermectin for both of her parents, but it turns out only her mother took ivermectin. About 5 days later, her father, Gary, developed what he thought were mild cold symptoms. On April 5th, both of her parents received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Within hours, they both developed flu-like symptoms and both developed severe headaches. Cindy's symptoms resolved very quickly. Remember, she had taken ivermectin. Gary had not taken ivermectin, and Gary's symptoms persisted. On April 12th, Gary passed out at home. That was exactly 1 week after receiving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Gary was taken by ambulance to the hospital. On admission, his platelet count was only 7,000. Normal is 200,000 to 400,000. During his admission, one of his doctors advised him that he had had an adverse reaction to the vaccine. Gary was hospitalized for 12 days, but eventually he recovered. He was never contacted by the CDC, and as far as he is aware, his case was never reported to VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. So I am personally aware of 3 people who have had severe reactions shortly after receiving the COVID-19 vaccines, 1 requiring hospitalization, 2 resulting in death. I expect many of you in the audience are aware of similar cases of adverse reactions to the vaccines. Most adverse reactions are never reported. The CDC estimates only 2% of all adverse reactions have been officially logged into their database. Ivermectin has been shown to be virtually 100% effective when used prophylactically or when used to treat COVID-19. A study was conducted in South America in which 800 healthcare workers were given ivermectin prophylactically. Another group of 400 healthcare workers were given a placebo. Of the 800 who received ivermectin, there were 0 cases of COVID. Of the group of 400 who did not receive ivermectin, 58% tested positive. I would say that's pretty convincing evidence that ivermectin is effective. Of course, there are many other studies that also show remarkable effectiveness and remarkable safety of ivermectin. I've prescribed ivermectin for at least 30 of my patients and family members. None of them have been sick, none of them have required hospitalization, none have died. Ivermectin has been used for other purposes for decades and has a long track record of safety. It's readily available throughout the world. It's no longer under patent, so it's very inexpensive. So ivermectin is cheap, relatively readily available, and has a long track record of safety and is effective. It's my opinion there's no reason to mandate vaccination for COVID-19, especially when ivermectin is an effective and safe alternative. The decision to receive such vaccines should be left to the choice of each individual. Vaccination should not be mandated. I can tell you I'm not getting the jab.
Because I know you're only a fraction of the people who are angry and upset. We have got to push back. It's time to forget the woke as we are awakened. As Professor Wagner said earlier, it's now or never. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Representative Matt Maddock.
Let's give it up for Representative Sue Eller, who had the courage to go ahead and put these bills forth to stop vaccine passports. My body, my choice. My body, my choice. Whenever we can commandeer one of the leftist, progressive, most famous sayings, that's a great thing for us, ladies and gentlemen. We all have a choice to make, and now it's time to choose freedom. We're not going to show you our vaccine passports. We're not going to keep our kids out of schools. We're not going to listen to their fake science anymore. It's been 2 years. We've been 2 years into the 2 weeks to flatten the curves, and enough is enough. They've emotionally tortured our grandparents and loved ones in nursing homes, and these government lovers keep telling us we're the selfish ones. I got a question for you. If the government gave you a pill to cure the flu, would you take it? Would you ask yourself what was in it? Would you expect to be called every possible nasty name if you didn't want to take it? Kamala said she didn't trust the Trump vaccine. Are we supposed to trust theirs? What about our college kids? Are any college kids out there? We have tens of thousands of college kids in Michigan with non-refundable tuitions being forced to be vaccinated. Many of them are being forced to change careers. I have a personal friend of mine whose daughter who wants to go to nursing school, but she doesn't want to get the vaccine. What is she going to do? Are these kids' careers non-refundable? Are their dreams non-refundable? And you know what, another thing, the left is always whining and complaining about minuscule amounts of microscopic pollution and contamination in the environment, saying that causes all kinds of diseases, birth defects, and illness, right, when it comes into our bodies. But when it comes to scientifically proven dangers of the COVID vaccine, they are completely silent about the vaccine pollution they want to inject into our bodies. This has nothing to do with health and everything to do with power. They want this fight because they enjoy crushing people like you and I and humiliating dissenters. That's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Matt Maddock. I'm your state representative here in Michigan. I represent Northwest and Oakland County. Thanks for being here. Never give up, never give in. And I want to introduce my close friend and another legislator, Senator Tom Barrett. He's one of the guys that's never going to give up, and he's never going to give in either.
Thank you. I'll tell you, we can't even see all the people in the back because there are so many of you here today. Thank you to each and every one of you for showing up. There's a lot of things you could be doing with your time today, but I'm proud to be here with you. I know each of my colleagues are proud to be here with you, and I know everybody here is here because this means something to you. So thank you, and thank you for being here for those that can't. Thank you for being here for the elderly that died unaccompanied in the nursing homes. Thank you for being here as a stand-in for them and their families. Thank you for being here for people who have to be at work today and are being told by their employer that they don't have a choice in this matter anymore. Thank you. We have a governor who sits in the office across the street. She thinks our governor believes that dismembering a baby 9 months in the womb is an essential protected service. But giving you the choice about what medical procedure you undertake is not your choice anymore. In our country and in our state, we have always protected informed consent as it relates to medical procedures. Consent means the ability to decide for yourself without coercion from others, regardless of what they tell you you should or should not do. The two leading causes for comorbidity with COVID was obesity. The number 2 correlating factor was fear and anxiety. Where do you think that comes from? Exactly. We're not afraid anymore. We're going to embrace our freedoms. We're going to live our lives. This mandate is not going to happen on our watch. Governor, if you're watching today, it's not happening on our watch. Thank you. I want to introduce my friend Dare Rendon, who's going to close this out for us. Thank you, Dare.
Good afternoon, Patriots! Let's see that red, white, and blue. We are Americans. We have a Constitution, and it has a Bill of Rights. We have those rights, and we are not going to let them be taken away. Thank you. Thank you for standing up for those who couldn't be here today. There are so many of you that I would love to shake each and every one of your hands. But instead, what I'd like to do right now is read some of your signs, because I don't think you all can see them. I see a sign that says, imagine a vaccine so safe, you have to be threatened to take it. For a pandemic so deadly, you have to be tested to know you have it. Keep your jab in the lab. This is a vaccine holocaust. My MSU son will not get the shot. Courage is courageous. RN 2020 bedside hero, 2021 curbside zero. Thank you. Thank you. I call the shot, not you. Natural immunity far superior than an experimental shot. And this little girl has a big voice. Let me breathe freely. No more masks. We are not going to take it anymore. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your support. And thank you for your patriotism. God bless each and every one of you.
Good afternoon. Wow. You know, I should be saying how absolutely, well, there's a note. It's fine. I know the material. I should be saying how absolutely great it feels to be at this Capitol talking to all of you. I don't like why I have to come to this Capitol and talk to you. You know, I spent 9 years on active duty in the Air Force working in environmental engineering. I also spent 12 years working on pandemic planning, preparedness, and response. You might ask yourself, don't worry about it, Jeff, I got it. You might ask yourself, well, why aren't people like you on the COVID-19 task force? Well, I'll answer that for you. Because everything that we have dealt with since March of 2020 has absolutely been nothing to do with our individual health and safety. Now, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am a conspiracy realist. Some of you may follow me. I've been a loudmouth liberty enforcer since around 2010 when I blew the whistle on the United States Air Force trying to poison their people. What I want to tell the healthcare workers that are in the audience today is, I've worked in healthcare for 12 of my 18 years. Listen closely to what my job is. I anticipate, I recognize, I evaluate, and then I control every single health hazard in the workplace. So, embedded within healthcare systems, healthcare workers, you should have embedded or contracted an industrial hygienist or an environmental or occupational health and safety professional. You want to air your grievances? Well, that's who you need to air your grievances with. While we are not MDs, we are preventive health specialists and scientists and toxicologists. We have an oath to our profession. We have ethics within our profession. It is absolutely against the ethics of my profession to allow healthcare workers to reutilize personal protective equipment. You know, upon initial hire, you are to be fit tested, trained, medically cleared on the limitations, usage, storage, and cleaning of those respirators. They are not masks, they are respirators. But if we're dealing with such a horrific health hazard, why isn't the general public be giving the same level of protection? Because it's unrealistic. And there's something called the hierarchy of controls. Just today, I was watching a video where the head of the CDC, who is an MD, talked about all the risk mitigation efforts we must take. You know what she left out? The experts in my field who follow those hierarchy of controls. And what she didn't say was that we need to implement engineering controls. When you hear people say, there's nothing wrong with prolonged use of mask usage because doctors and nurses wear them all day. You wear them in environments that are cold. You have increased air exchanges. You follow something called ASHRAE standards. You're medically cleared. You know when to change them out. And you are also trained to recognize the individual hazards of the prolonged use impacts of those respirators. You are being fooled. You are also being mocked and belittled. See, what I can resonate with you that are practicing in healthcare is I definitely know what it feels like when you are a hero in the uniform when you're complying. Then when you stand up because you recognize the tyranny, the ethics violations, and the absolutely hazardous conditions that you're forced to work in. When you speak up, now you're demonized and you're just easily replaced, right? No. So you're familiar with what I do. I train doctors, I train nurses, I sit in surgeries, I air sample, I do noise sampling, I make sure you're doing proper waste. My job is to respect your job, know what you do, what are the hazards, and protect you properly. And none of you have been protected properly because you should have been wearing powered air purifying respirators and controlled air purifying respirators. Instead, you are a number and you are disposable. You are only good to the company when you comply. Shut up and color, folks. That's what they want from you. So I want to shift this to our college students that are here. My daughter, who's 17, is going to be in college next year. Nope. She was planning on going to university, and I'm actually encouraging her to either take a gap year and do an internship or find a private school. See, I can stand up here and tell you what I do, and I can stand up here and tell you I actually left healthcare because of the ethics violations I saw way back in 2014. But I'm not just standing here today. We've been imploring you all to unite and file litigation against these corporations that are discriminating against you. I have been in the process since March 31st of suing Delta Airlines. Tammy Clark was my partner in traveling to North Dakota, in which we were speaking out against a mask mandate bill, which passed, by the way. And yeah, my disability didn't matter, even though I'm a 100% rated disabled veteran. So my attorneys are Kyle Van Allman, Warren Norred, and Tom Rentz. Many of you may have heard of Tom Rentz. These individuals are literally risking their licenses to stand up for you, but we outnumber all of these tyrants. Do you realize that? The Nazis could not do what they did if they just told Hitler to sit down. Madam Speaker, Tammy Clark, I'd like to yield the last minute of my time to my two daughters, Jalen and Ellis, also known as Moo.
Hello, my name is Moo. My friend Joy is upstage right now. She is right there. So, the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag is important to us. Of one nation, under God, and liberty and justice for all.
She was going to talk to you about masks because this morning she said, Mom, these healthcare workers are confused. They wear masks for a reason, and now they wear them for no reason. Before I hand it off to my 17-year-old here, I just want to leave you with this. One human hair. One human hair. COVID-19 is 4,000 times smaller than the diameter of a human hair. Do you think that goes out through the sides of your grandma's curtains, your mask you bought off Etsy? No, it's 0% efficacy for COVID-19. Masks do nothing. And I can say that. And guess what? I'm here, so I don't have to worry about my comment being posted by Facebook.
Okay, so I'm definitely not as good with my words as my mom or my little sister, but I will say, to all of the healthcare workers out there who are risking their careers just to stand up for what's right, I have so much respect for you because that takes so much gut. And just like my mom was saying, next year I will be a freshman in college, and you know, I do want to go to GVSU while they are trying to mandate masks, but you know, I don't care what I have to do. I will step foot into that college not wearing a mask. Watch me, because I'll do it. But they're not going to ruin my experience, and that's a fact.
Thank you so much. All right, thanks for joining my TED Talk. I would like to introduce our next speaker who I met. You know, it is great that we're uniting, but it's sad how long I've had to work with these people fighting for our rights. Believe the science. Hashtag follow the science. Here's your science. Following me up is Dr. Christina Parks. She is a gem. We've worked together on different issues to educate the public for the suppressed information. She is a cellular molecular biologist. She understands the nitty-gritty technical information that you're not hearing. You're just hearing that you should fear everything around you, and she's here to explain to you what we've been doing wrong, what we should be doing right, and the real science that she's educated on. Dr. Christina Parks, thank you so much.
Good afternoon. All right, I'm going to get started right away in the interest of time. I'm here to tell you 2 reasons you have to hold the line. You have to hold the line. The first reason is that this experimental gene therapy injection is downright dangerous. If you are worried about not being able to support your family for the next few months, 6 months, a year, what are you going to do if you're permanently disabled, and what are your children going to do if you're dead? Right? Yes, this is experimental gene therapy. Absolutely. It's an experimental gene therapy that makes your body make billions of copies of a pathogenic viral protein. Right? So there's no detoxing from this, because that mRNA or that DNA gets into your cells and tells your cells to make thousands, each one of your cells to make thousands of copies of this. That mRNA is synthetic. It's not your normal mRNA. It's not degraded in 2 or 3 days. Studies have shown in a few patients, 29 days later, your cells were still cranking out this viral spike protein. The only reason it disappeared is because they took the second shot and there were antibodies to neutralize it. But we're going to talk about those antibodies as well. Right, so why is this spike protein dangerous? 1, it's highly inflammatory. They've been trying to suppress this information for a year. This has the sequence of an HIV protein in it. An HIV protein that's neurotoxic and highly inflammatory. When it binds to your cells, it signals your body's key inflammation gene to upregulate. If you keep making this, you're signaling chronic inflammation, which we know causes a whole host of diseases. All right? It binds to your ACE2 receptor, it causes signaling. So this is telling your cells what to do. It's not just there causing a little problem here and there. It's actually reprogramming your cells and telling to do things they shouldn't. And one of the things that it tells your cells to do is to turn off the system that turns down your inflammatory and your immune response. Your immune response won't shut down. You're going into sepsis. It's because of that spike protein. The spike protein also directly causes blood clotting. So you're making billions of copies of it. You go in the hospital with a problem, they release you, and in a week you're back there because your blood won't stop clotting because you keep making the stupid spike protein. Distribution studies have shown high levels of this mRNA, they don't stay in the injection site. That's BS. They go all over the bodies, and high levels go to your spleen, to your liver, to your ovaries, and to your testes. All right, so you're saying, well, you know, if I get that second vaccine, I'll make neutralizing antibodies that will destroy the spike protein. And that may be true, but you know what you'll also do? Studies have shown that the antibodies your body makes in response to the spike protein cross-react with greater than 20 of your own tissues. All right, so maybe you'll get some neutralizing antibodies that will destroy that spike protein, and if you don't have a stroke, maybe you'll have passed that point. However, what will those antibodies cross-react with you? Are you in for a game of Russian roulette? Will they cross-react with your alpha-myosin, causing you to have myocarditis, as so many of our young people are coming down with? Will they cross-react with your lipids and destroy the myelin sheath around your brain and spinal cord and cause you to be paralyzed or have tics or neuropathy for the rest of your life? Will they cross-react with your ovarian tissue or your children's ovarian tissue and make them sterile? Right? Will they cross-react with your mitochondria, destroying your energy factories and making it so you can't even get out of bed, you're so tired? Is this a game of Russian roulette that you want to play? No! All right, and here's the second reason. You are our last line of defense. This is a war for our freedoms, and I will will not underestimate what this may cost you and your family. All right, I do not take this lightly. You are on the front lines, and whether you choose to take an experimental shot or not, there is going to be a price to pay. You are on the front lines of this war, and I call on every brother and sister who stands for medical freedom to do everything they can to support you through this time. And there's a reason we have to do this. Because you are our last line of defense. You are on the front lines, and what's behind you? Our children are behind you. You have to hold the line. Right? Hold the line. 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 Okay. Got a few more things to say. We have to do what we can to fight this in court and shut this down. They don't have a leg to stand on legally or scientifically, and we have to take them to court to prove it. So here's what you can do, and you can follow me on Telegram, where I post all my science, Dr. Christina, C-H-R-I-S-T-I-N-A, Parks. Dr. Christina Parks. I'm also Christina Parks on Facebook. I'll try to share a link sometime today to take you to my Telegram site. So here's what you need to do. 1, submit proof of immunity. If you submit proof of immunity, and how you can do that, take a test called the T-Detect test. I'll post a link on my Telegram page. T-Detect. It detects T-cell immunity for up to a year or more. All right, so take that test, submit proof of immunity. They're going to have a hard time overcoming that in court. Then, ask them for a written statement. If they say that's not adequate, ask them for a written statement why. All of this is geared toward taking all of this to court so that we can win. Next, if you can, have the conversation. Ask what is the purpose behind this mandatory vaccination, and then ask them to show you the science that shows that this prevents transmission. Since there isn't any, that's going to be a hard job. Then file for a medical exemption. They're going to pretend they're not going to give one, but most of them know they're secretly liable, so you may get through with that. File for a religious exemption. All right? Then, if none of these work, and you should do all of these, ask for a written copy of their liability policy. All right? They say, hey, yeah, so since the federal government and the pharma is not liable for this, you guys are, can I get a copy of your liability? Very, very politely, policy. If they don't give you one, say, okay, well, I'll come with my own, I understand. So then ask your employer to sign an assumption of liability. And so many of us are coming up with those. You can find them at Frontline Doctors. I just posted one from defendingtherepublic.org. There's a link to that on my Telegram page. And you can get ones that are pre-written up. I'm also going to share some of the bulleted scientific points with links to the papers. If you want to give some of those, that should be up by tonight or tomorrow. And, you know, I'll just try to do it so they're bulleted and then with a link so you can give it to them and ask them. You can say, have them sign a written statement that, hey, I have looked over all of this, I have read these papers, and even with this, I'm still mandating this, or you lose your job. All right? Force them into a corner where they realize they don't have a leg to stand on. All right, and so finally, just say no. All right, you will be more of an asset to your family and community if you hold the line than if you are disabled. All right, thank you. So right now, I want to introduce Ms. Tasha Shergan, and she's going to talk about Michigan for Vaccine Choice. We've been telling you that they're going to use medical freedom to destroy us for many years, and now we are at that moment. We have a table over there, and she's going to share more. Thank you very much.
Woo! Thank you, Christina. Oh my God, standing up here, looking out, it's the most amazing view I've ever seen. You guys are beautiful, beautiful faces. Woo! So my name's Tasha Shergan. I'm a volunteer for Michigan for Vaccine Choice, and I'm the event coordinator. For the last 7 years, I've participated in event tables across the state of Michigan, sharing the message of vaccine choice and health freedom. That was just a dress rehearsal for the current times. So Michigan for Vaccine Choice is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in the 90s. Originally, we were called Michigan Opposing Mandatory Vaccines. Woo, it got windy up here. God's telling us we're doing the right thing. He's encouraging us. So our members are across the whole spectrum. Some are fully vaccinated, some are partially vaccinated, some are not vaccinated at all. But the one thing that we all have in common is that we're for health freedom and vaccine choice. So the media likes to call us anti-vaxxers. That's a derogatory term, and it's used to create discrimination and segregation. The truth is that many of us are ex-vaxxers. We followed what our doctors said. Our children were injured, and we will never harm them again. Vaccine injury is not rare, it's just rarely discussed. That's right. As an organization, we educate, we advocate, and we participate. We host educational events across the state. We actually have an upcoming fundraiser with Dr. McCullough from Texas. Woo! We advocate. Sue Aller mentioned the House Bill 4471. I cannot emphasize how important it is that each one of you call your state legislators, call your congressional leaders, let them know what we want. We, the people, deserve to be heard. It's so important to build a relationship with these legislators. Let them know who you are. Create a relationship with them. Last night I was at the Oakland County Commissioners meeting, and my former state rep had a staffer there who was working for one of the commissioners. She recognized me, and I was able to get an introduction to that commissioner. That wouldn't have happened if I hadn't worked on that relationship for 3 years before that day. We also participate. Michigan for Vaccine Choice participates in events like this all across the state. This is as grassroots as it gets. To see all these organizations coming together, this is how we're going to maintain our freedom. So we've got a Michigan for Vaccine Choice table right over there. We've got amazing shirts. They're $20, small, medium, and large. Freedom! I want to encourage all of you to sign up for Michigan for Vaccine Choice emails. Our website is michiganvaccinechoice.org. Get involved, help, make a difference. We have one goal, and that is to stop vaccine mandates around the world. Are you with me?
Good afternoon, Americans. My name is PJ Cerati, and I'm the co-founder of Americans Against Forced Vaccination. I am also a student at Michigan State University, and I am 21 years old. And I am in fear that I will not be graduating this spring, because recently Michigan State University instituted a policy of mandating the emergency use of a trial vaccine. All right, now how many of you are parents in this audience? Raise your hand. Okay, like 2 or 3, right? Yeah. Now, how many of you understand the difficulty that we as students face in online education? Sitting in a room, staring at a laptop, and not being able to use the bathroom without clicking a button. It is utterly ridiculous, and I think you understand the importance of an in-person, inside the institution, next to the instructor education. Am I right? Now, this isn't just about my education. This is about my freedom, and this is about your freedom. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. MSU prides themselves on their character. They love to talk about how they support mental health, how they support the futures of their students. how they truly care. That's why they're mandating this vaccine, right? That's why they think that they can keep our students safe. Well, you know what? Let me tell you a story about a student that MSU truly cares about. Everyone look over here to this woman in the green shirt. Her name is Julie Radford. Julie Radford is my rock, and I would not be here today if it wasn't for her. Julie Radford is an MSU student with a 4.0 degree and has been on the dean's list since she was admitted to Michigan State University. Julie has a family. She has 2 kids. She has a husband and a home and a life that she has built for herself. And all of that is going to be thrown away because of Michigan State's policies. Her life is in chaos. She is going to have to move to Charleston to find an education that supports her freedom of choice. And her life, again, is in chaos. Now, does this sound like a university that cares about their students? No! What MSU is doing to Julie and thousands of other kids is total hypocrisy. And I will not stand for that. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. What MSU doing is a violation of our human rights that were declared in 1949 that every single UN nation adopted. Now let me read to you 2 of those human rights. Article 12 states that no one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor or reputation. Article 26 states that every human being has the right to an education. Every human being has the right to an education that is derived from merit. What President Stanley, 5 miles down the road, is telling us, and what University of Michigan's president is telling them, what 500 schools across this country are doing, is telling us that our education does not come from our merit. It does not come from our hard work. It comes from our vaccination status, and that is evil. And so because of this, last Friday, I started a petition, and today I have 13,000 loyal supporters standing behind me to fight this. But to be honest with everybody here, that is not enough. That is not enough. What I need you to do is I need you to Google my name, PJ Cerati. Google it and find my petition and sign it so that we can show the elected officials that we are going to put up a fight against this. We need to show students across this country that we no longer need to hide in the shadows, and it is time to step up. Because you have a choice of what you put in your body. You have a choice to fight for your freedom, and you have a choice to fight for your human rights. So get out there and find your voice. God bless America. Thank you.
All right, you men out there, who's been standing up for the last year or 2 years? Who's been standing up the most? It's been the ladies. Okay, not all of you, some of you. Okay, I'm stepping to the plate. I'm doing crap that I don't want to do. I've gotten to be a really good cook. Good for you, brother. Good for you, brother. Good for you. But overall, where are the men? Don't keep your mouth shut at work. Say it when you're in a meeting. If you disagree with it, say it. If you've got to lose your job, men, lose your job. Swing a hammer. You can make $50 an hour swinging a hammer right now. I'm in the construction industry, and I know the trades are dying. There's not enough people in the industry. Do what you got to do to take care of your family, but do it right. Okay, who gave us the example? Okay, men out here, who wants to be a badass? You all want to be a badass, right? Stop and think to yourself, who is the biggest badass of all time? Christ Jesus was the biggest badass of all time. This nice Jesus that's being preached for the last several years is a bunch of crap. He did what had to be done. He pissed them off so much that they killed him. That's what happened. Who did he stand up against? He stood up against the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Who were they? They were academia of the time. He stood up against the money changers. He cast the demon into the pig, and that farmer lost all kinds of money. Who was that? Big business. That's who he stood up against. Who else did he stand up against? He stood up against the Pharisees. They were big religion of the time. How many of your churches closed down? If they closed down, go to another frickin' church. Okay, what are they there for? They're there to take care of the people. They're there to, like somebody was saying up here, they're there to help those that that are having problems with drugs and alcohol. They're there for marriage counseling. They're there for the people that are depressed and having issues. They fell right back into it. The church dropped the ball. The church has dropped the ball so many times. Okay, and Christ gave us that example. He stood up against the people that we need to be standing up against right now. Okay? And what else did he do? Would Jesus have worn a mask? I hear that all the time. Of course he wouldn't have worn a mask. What did he do to the leper? What did he do to the leper? He hugged him. You weren't even supposed to touch the leper. He hugged him. He healed him when he hugged him, but why did he hug him? Because he loved him and everybody else cast him out. Jesus said, I got your back, brother. I love you. That's what that guy needed at that moment in time. So Christ showed us who to stand up against. He showed us what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to fight. God didn't give you these, and he didn't give you your equipment for just one reason. He gave it to you so that you would stand up and fight, so that you take care of your women, so that you take care of your kids. Okay, you ladies are doing a great job. I'm so proud of you. I've got 4 older sisters. They're all tough as nails. I got a straight-up badass wife. Okay, and I got her back. I got her back big time. So you men have got to stand up. If you've got to quit your damn job, no, I take that back. Don't quit your job. Make them fire you. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Go to work. Go to work. Don't take the vaccine. Go to work. Don't put on the mask. Go to work. Make them fire you. Then go get another job and turn around and sue their asses. All right, I'm sorry for the outburst. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. God bless each and every one of you standing out here and standing up against tyranny. Now, if you ever want to know what the solution is, it's look in the mirror. It's we the people standing up against tyranny. Do we have remedy? Yes, we do. And I will tell you how we get remedy. Very seriously. We are being held up in the courts. As a matter of fact, I just found out today 9 cases that I'm going after these governors as domestic terrorists will not be heard until 2023. I kid you not. They are holding us up in court because the court system is corrupt. Now, this is what I'm going to do right now, and I want everyone to pay close attention. Every public servant has what's called an indemnity bond. If they violate their oath of office, which also must be filed with the Secretary of State, we go after them for the crimes that they are committing by violating that oath of office. So where we're going with this is start filing claims against the insurance companies that hold the bonds. Let's bankrupt these bastards. It's the insurance companies that are holding refuge right now. So let's go after them. And this is what we do. We file a claim against them. I don't care if it's your school board administration. This is all on our website. You can look it up, constitutionallawgroup.us. We have what it takes. You just fill in the information and boom, go after these school boards, go after these corrupt judges, go after these corrupt senators. Take it to the hit, okay? We, the people, are the power. It says it clear and straight on that Constitution. We, the people. We always have to hold ourselves accountable for allowing this to happen. So we have to bend our knees to God and say, God, forgive us for allowing this tyranny to transgress our freedoms. And I'm going to say straight here and now, this is a republic form of government. This is not a democracy. We, the people, are the largest and the most powerful voice of government, and we need to take our voice back. And if we don't, I warn you, if we don't start standing up, each and every one of us looking in the mirror and taking responsibility for being complacent as they stole our rights, we will lose the greatest nation the world has ever known. And we and the whole world will be indulged in darkness. So I'm not only begging, I'm pleading with each and every one of you. Stand up, start going after the bonds of these public servants. Don't wait for somebody else to do it, you do it. When they become unbondable, that seat will become vacant. Now we can fill that seat with somebody of honor, somebody that is willing to stand up for the rights of we the people and that Constitution. Let me explain one simple thing before I hang this microphone up. Is the Constitution does not give us our rights. We are annihilated by our Creator. We only delegated limited authority to our government to protect our rights, protect our borders, and to coin our money. They've been doing such a great job so far, haven't they? We the people have to stand up and present ourselves as the authority, not the court systems. I have been working with generals, colonels, and we will take back a de jure court system over the corporate de facto court system that has been betraying itself as a court of law. And I need each and every one of you to start standing up and saying, no, I will not comply. God bless America, and God bless each and every one of you that took the time to be here. And I am counting, we are all counting on us being our brother's keepers and teach them what they do not know. And the Constitutional Law Group has been standing up since March 19th when those son of a bitches closed down Texas. On my 50th birthday, as a matter of fact. And God bless. I'm going to turn it over to Tammy, and God bless America.
Thank you, Rick. All right, we are going to wrap this up here in the next couple of minutes because we've got some rain, some storms coming in. But Ron and I want to leave you guys with some solid information and some options and some solutions and what are we going to do next. So right now, the one thing I want to tell you guys is there is nothing but opportunity. When the need is the greatest, the miracles are the biggest. When the need is the greatest, God loves to show up and show off in your life. But you have to seek Him. You have to trust Him. And He will be there for you. He's waiting to show us what He has planned for us. So what are your options? Healthcare professionals. This Capitol lawn is full of you. Many of you are licensed. Start an LLC. It costs about $45. I'm telling you, don't submit to this. Step out in faith, trust the Lord, and get creative. There are going to be people like me, like all of these thousands of people that are here today that are going to be looking for alternative solutions. So why don't you all go create them? Hello? There's nothing but opportunity right now, standing right in front of us. Same thing with the education systems. It's time for us to hit the reset button, guys. God is showing you there's a way. I know it seems scary, but you know what? It was really scary for the children of Israel to follow God out of Egypt, out of slavery, and into the desert. They complained about it. God got angry with them because He was thinking, what are you complaining about? Being with me in the desert is better than being without me in slavery. And what did He do for them?
He led them by a cloud during the day, by a pillar of fire at night. He rained food down for them, miraculous food. He's the same God. God has not changed. He's just waiting for us to trust him, to seek him, and to follow him out of slavery, into the desert if we have to. But one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to submit to tyranny. We're not going to stay in slavery. So who's with me? Who's with me? Who's willing to follow me into the desert with him if we must? Yes, there's freedom. There's freedom in putting action to your faith. It's miracle-producing power, people. That's the stuff that miracles are made of. And he's waiting for you to just step out and trust him. And I can't wait to hear your stories, the miracles that are about to happen. I can't wait to see what you all do as you get creative. Allow the Lord to give you creative solutions, because we are the ones who are going to hit the reset button. And this great reset, we're going to flip the script on them. Big time. And I want to turn it over to Ron, because we have some really interesting information, some legal documents, some resources that are really going to help all of you as well with the practical side of things as well. Ron Armstrong.
Thank you, Tammy. Got some major weather coming in, so we do want to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. A lot of people have asked for resources. How about some letters that we could provide to our universities and our schools? We have them for you. You need to go to standupmichigan.com, sign up there. Make sure, if you're on our email list, you're all set. We are going to email them. We cannot put these on social media. Facebook will wipe them. We can't put them in a link in a video on YouTube. They will be wiped. We want you to share them with your people and your friends by email, by text. And these are going to be 2 different versions for 2 different groups. They're going to be for people and students. And there's going to be ones if you are immune, meaning you've had COVID, and those of you that haven't. There are links. There is a letter. This is going to be something you could submit to the schools and the universities that you go to. The second group are for employers. Same thing. If you've had COVID, you already have the immunity. You need to give them this information and demand a response from them. Do not quit. Show up for work. Show up on time, and make them fire you. Understand, as Americans, the people, our forefathers sacrificed much for you to have the freedoms we have today. We have not sacrificed much. Don't pretend we've sacrificed much yet. It is time that we're willing to sacrifice, because this sacrifice is what's going to determine the future of our country for you and your children. Go to standupmichigan.com, sign up under your county. We will be emailing you all 4 of those letters, along with a letter that actually explains how you're going to send it in, what your response are going to be. These are been looked over by legal scholars. The links are real. They're not going to be able to respond, because we're providing them the truth. And if they choose to not respond, then you're going to be able to sue the hell out of them. And they're going to eventually go to our governor up there across the street and say, we're willing to follow you, but we can't follow you if it's going to affect our bottom line. It's time to inflict pain on them. They believe all they have to do is speak and you will respond. They believe they tell you to stay home, put your mask on, and just wait for me to speak on television, and that's what you're going to do. But you're not doing it anymore. We stood up. You were all part of, how many were part of Operation Gridlock? An unbelievable showing. But then we all went home. We felt good about ourselves. It went across the country. These are the people that stood up. And then we said, what do we do now? That's why it's important. What we do now is we have to stand united. We have to join in your community with people. We have to attend your school board meetings. We have to make sure that every single school board is going to make it optional for your children, for the parents to decide whether your kids are mandated or not mandated to be able to be vaccinated. And the staff, the same. Many schools across this state absolutely have made the decision to make it a choice, and we need to make sure all of them do. And if your kids go to one that isn't, then show up and say, I'm here, but my kid's not entering that building until you take those mandates away. I promise you, they will go away if we, the people, stand up. And this isn't optional anymore. You have left the televisions last year. You've left the computers over the winter. You are now here. You're in the stadium with us. We are now a part of one team. We're a part of being American, and together is how we're going to change this. The legislators that serve and represent you in this building, they look and see this crowd, and I can promise you, we can bring 5 and 10 times this many people if they don't listen. But the solution is never going to come from here. It's not going to come from Washington. It's going to come from you. It's going to come from us. Because we are ultimately in control. We give them the courage. We give them the courage to stand up to do what's right. We are going to demand these bills be passed. Unlock 2 is going to limit the health department in the same way as Unlock Michigan did. It's coming soon. And one last thing. It's coming right after that. Legislation for election integrity. It's coming. That's going to be Unlock 3, the trilogy. We are going to take back control of our government, and our people are going to take back control. I thank you all for coming. I want to see if Tammy has any last words before we go, and I want you to get out of here before the weather comes. So thank you for coming.